Might be a little breezy. I don't know. It's probably fine. It's probably fine. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. You know, we've been spending a lot of time to get this building weather tight. We've got that roof done. We've even done a little bit of siding, but this brings us to another reason. Since the start of this project, I've told you guys that I think post frame is a great option, and there's some benefits to it when building a home. And we're at, I don't know what benefit number we're on, but interior framing. Behind me, you guys see all of this lumber. It just got delivered about 5 minutes ago, and Greg and I are gonna move it all to the inside, and it's never gonna see any inclement weather. So this client here's home is never gonna be exposed to the elements on the inside, which can lead to things like mold and dirt and mildew and other things inside your wall cavities. We're not gonna have that. So it's a great benefit to post frame, I think. So if somebody's keeping track what number we're on, drop that down below in the comments. Otherwise, Greg and I are gonna warm up, because it's a brisk morning, by moving all this material on the inside. So what are we doing here? We're gonna get all the 16s first?
Yeah, I think we should put all the 2x4s on this pallet here.
Because that's mainly interior wall stuff.
Interior walls.
We'll get rid of all the girts first.
Yeah, and then all your girts can go in there because that's what you're going to use up on your walls first.
Yeah, so we're gonna take them in there.
And we can even leave some in here if we want.
Well, they're still, yeah. I mean, this is 5 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would have got 6 times 5. There's 30 2x6s just go in here.
We leave 30 2x6s in here, and then the rest can go.
Okay.
In there. That's what I think.
Well, you've always been known for your thinking. Where's this gonna go? Because I don't really want it in there. Probably right here. If you've been following along with this project, we're building a Barndominium, or basically a residential home. However, instead of your traditional stick frame, we're using post frame. So if this is the first video, welcome. If you're returning from the previous videos, thanks for coming back. And even though it's been a really slow, I would say, last few weeks, we've been waiting on product, waiting on the weather, waiting on just subcontractors, you know, just the normal house build routine where it seems like you hurry up and wait. Well, we just received a shipment of Smartside siding, which we've been waiting on. Like all things, you know, it's tough just with the supply, but we got it, and we're gonna start installing some siding here on this garage. Remember, we don't have our windows, so we can't keep going with the siding, but I can do the whole garage because there aren't any windows. We've got a couple walk doors that we were able to pick up. They were stock. They will get painted. They're not going to stay white. So let's go ahead and get into this. What I've got to do is first install my rain screen, which I've already got laid out here. This is a Benjamin Opdyke Slicker Classic, I do believe is the name of it. And basically this is a non-compressible wrap that you lay out, and it's going to allow airspace behind your siding so that moisture, condensation, whatever gets back there has a way to work out. And that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna tack this up so we can install our siding. Now, if you're looking at the little gap between the two, that's okay. It's not gonna be a big deal. The siding is not going to push up against this area exactly right here. I just knew that these rolls come in 39.5-inch width, and this is like 80 inches, so I needed to spread it out just a little bit. Nicest part about these rolls, they come with free garbage bags, so that's handy. All right, now that we've got the water screen applied, we can go ahead and start laying out our siding. Now, something to consider is if I start right here and work all the way down that building, just kind of without thinking about it, you know, that could cause some issues with the layout as the siding goes down the wall. Maybe it doesn't hit exactly where I want to around windows. So I already did that. I already took measurements and checked, and what I decided was it's probably my best interest to start down here, work my way to the corner, and then work my way down the rest of that wall. And the reason being is, let me turn you here because I don't think you can see it. So the reason that I want to start over here, or at least start my layout over here, is because I want a full piece to go up that corner and not have like a weird rip or something weird. So layout is always important. You don't want to just, you know, start installing it blind without thinking about where your battens are going to lay out. or where your siding is going to be installed. So I'm actually going to start down here and I'm going to work my way to the corner. And then when our windows show up, I'll get my windows installed down there and I'll keep running my siding. Now what I'm going to do, since I don't have stone on the side of the door over here, I can't really start where I want to, which is right there. No big deal. I'm just going to measure out what the pieces over this door, where they're going to lay. I should probably staple that back. And then I'm going to start with the first full on this side of the door. And then I'll just work my way back when I get that stone up over there. But this will allow me to kind of keep going and keep moving. What I know is my siding is 16 inches. We're gonna give ourselves an 1/8 of an inch. I'm not 100% sure that this is gonna work out here because of, you know, how bright it is. Oh, actually, I can see the laser. You guys probably can't. It looked to be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit a nail down here in the bottom. There's no way that stays. Oh man. Stupid Kyle. All I gotta do is get one more nail up here and I'll be good. We're gonna go ahead and leave this here. We'll be using that. We don't need the laser. We don't need my stapler. Are you kidding me? Seriously? I need some dang nails. I just always like to run a few, check it for plumb, make sure we're still running good, which we are, which is good. And as long as you do that and check every once in a while, you'll probably have no problems. I use my little marking stick. It's got my spacer, but also it's got marks where I put my nails here in the middle of the panel, just so they stay consistent. Probably doesn't matter. Once you paint them, you don't even see them, but why not? Takes 2 seconds. Now I will say, before I put on my battens, I will obviously make sure that my nails are good and flush. Sometimes they don't go in all the way. Smartside is super tough on the exterior here. Hey, what's up guys? So we're working on wrapping up this end wall finally. We've got our siding. I've got Greg to help me because it's definitely a two-man job with those tall pieces. But what I wanted to show you really quick was a trick that I use, and hopefully you can use it too when doing any sort of work in this manner where you need to cut and measure going up a wall that has a pitch on it. So a lot of times that's difficult for people. Let me show you what I do. All right, so what I've got is I make myself a list. Now my peak sheet was actually 15:1, but we knew that, so I started to go ahead and write down every cut. Now, with this app here on my phone, it's the Construction Master Pro. I'm gonna put in my peak piece, which was 15 feet 1 inch. Because these pieces of Smartside are all 16 inches, and because I have a 412 pitch on my roof, I know that every piece is going to have a drop on the angle of 5 inches. So we're gonna go minus 5 inch, 5/16. So that's gonna give me 14.7 and 11/16, which was my first one. And then all I have to do on my phone is keep hitting the equal button, 14.2 and 3/8, 13.9 and 1/16. So now what I do is I make my list. So as I go through, I can make all my cuts all here at the cut table without ever having to recheck, because I know that we've got a nice level line on our base. I know that our roof is 412 pitched because it's all engineered, and it just makes it a lot easier. So if you take a little bit of time to do a little bit of math, you can save yourself a lot of time in the long run, not having to try to figure out every cut with a tape measure, because that does become a little bit redundant. And believe it or not, I think you have more of a chance for error if you're measuring every single one, trying to figure out what that is. The math isn't going to lie, and it's going to give you the best result in the most efficient use of your time. So right now I'm making my cap trim. So this is the flashing that's going to go over top of my Versetta Stone, and it just gives me a nice clean detail, and it gives me a separation between the stone and the Smartside. So I'm ripping them down to 4 inches. I'm using these were just Bend It. Now it's Innova Tools, I think. They make a bunch of different brake accessories. They're pretty good. I just wish I had somewhere to put these when I didn't need them. Okay, now this is when these come in quite handy. First thing I need to do is put a hem on this so it gives it a nice stiff edge so it doesn't look all wavy. We're gonna push it just past the lip of my brake. Once we've got our bend all the way that we can go, we're gonna put it inside the brake here. It's a little bit difficult with a long piece sometimes, because it wants to work its way out. You're gonna get a nice hem, and then it's ready for the bend up. This is a very, very simple bend. And this is where the Just Bend It's come into play. Those accessories are nice. You don't have to pull your tape out, mark a bunch of things. You can just use them for quick, accurate measurements. So now I've got my couple pieces of flashing trim I need at the moment. I'm gonna go ahead and install them on top of the wainscot. All right, so this is the wainscot cap that I've got to flash, because when I put my siding on top of this, I don't want water running down and potentially going back. I want it to go out over the cap. So I've made those pieces of metal. They're going to sit just like so. And I've got to detail the end where it dies into my door trim, and here where it miters around the corner. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to detail this end so that the water doesn't go right over into the door. So this is a pretty simple thing. I'm just going to go ahead and mark the end of my flashing. Just going to go 1/2 inch. Do a bend up. What this is going to do is going to help prevent, when water comes down, running out over. It's going to have this little angle, and it should, you know, it's not that we're extremely worried about water, because we do have a rain screen built into the stone, but as you can see, by doing this, it's going to help prevent water from going down and going into that crack. So this will get a bead of caulk in the future against the siding, but for now, this is what we're going to do. So at this point, I'm going to kind of put this where I think it's going to be, and then I'm going to mark in plane with my wall right where the miter is going to start. Okay, so now we've got this piece here. It's going to go like so. And what we've got to do is we're going to bend this around the wall, and then we're going to do a slight bend here with this guy. Okay, starting to make sense here. And we're just putting a slight bend. So you can see just a slight bend there. This looks good. I like everything about it, except potentially I might need to shave off some of this because it might be sticking out into my miter just a hair. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and tack this in with a screw gun so I can pull it off and move it if I had to. It's kind of my last opportunity to make sure that this ledger line here is perfectly level, which right here is good. Nice and level, looks nice and clean, and we'll come over and do this side. We're gonna do the same thing here. Make some marks. Mark out where that miter's going. Now this one's gonna be a little bit different because I'm not gonna actually bend it over. I'm gonna actually use this one to make my nice clean miter. So first thing I gotta do is get this kind of cut down to size. The other thing I'm going to do is this hem right here, I'm going to open up just a hair. And the goal is going to be to slide it into this guy. It might be hard to see this, but this miter comes back to the corner. And I'm going to actually, before I put this on, put some sealant back here. But I don't ever come to the exact point on this overlap, and I do that because this little bit down here could open up just a little bit, and so that allows that to kind of cover that corner. It still is giving you a nice miter look to it. It's really nice and clean, but we're going to put some sealant down here before we go ahead and fasten this, and we'll level this out, screw it in, and then we'll tape it. Just kind of fill that little back area up, give myself a little bead here, and just a little bit. I don't need a ton here on this because once it makes there, it's going to run over top anyway. All right, so that'll give me a nice clean break between my Smartside, the stone. It'll clean this edge up here of the top of the stone, and any moisture coming down is going to go out over top of this flashing, over the edge. So I feel really good about this, and this is now ready for our water screen and siding. You know, it's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of mishmash like activities here on site, just because it's like we can do this, we can't do that. We're waiting on this, so we can't go that far. And this is a good example of one of those spots because we don't have our door, which means I can't run my stone all the way to it, which means I can only get this much installed, but that's okay because what it's allowing me to do, these couple pieces of Smartside installed, that's what I'm gonna work on today. It's just me, no Greg. He's enjoying some time in Florida, even though he's missing out. It's gonna be 60s this week here in Northern Illinois in December, which is absolutely crazy. Today is the last day in November, and I think we're gonna hit mid-50s. So what I need to do though, is it's a little bit hard to install a piece of Smartside that tall by yourself. I need to do a little bit of engineering to allow me to do that, and then I'll get that first piece installed and we'll work back into the soffit. Okay, so I found out where the first edge of a full sheet of vertical siding is gonna start. That's gonna be the edge of where I wanna put my first piece. So what I'm gonna do is take my Stabila laser. This is perfect for this. It will be a little bit difficult to see out here in the bright daylight, but luckily this wall is shadowed right now, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to at least go up there and see it. So I can see my line on the wall, and my laser is perfect there. Now I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna see if I can see it minimally just so I can snap a line. It's hard to see the laser out here. Believe it or not, I can see this laser no problem when you're looking down it. When I look directly at it, I have a hard time seeing it. What I need to do is I need to get my rain screen installed, and then I'm gonna make a little contraption here to hold the top piece of my siding so it doesn't flop off the wall when I'm getting it set exactly where I want it down there. And then I can just kind of make sure it's good on my marks all the way up, nail it off, and then I can work back to the corner. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take this little scrap board, put some screws through it. So what I can do is just go ahead and put this here as a little bar. I should be able to slide my Smartside up underneath of this, and it will keep it from falling out on me as I install it myself. Thank goodness this is Smartside though. I wouldn't be able to do this with many other sidings. Look at that, 15 feet tall. You can see why I need something up there to help me. As soon as I were to push this against the wall at the bottom, the top, the weight of it was gonna wanna fall out. Now, Smartside's not gonna break on me, but I need it to be back against the wall so I can see where it's at. So what I'm gonna do, because I'm dumb and I don't have any gas for my compressor, I can't use the siding nailer, I'm gonna go ahead and use my 15 degree, so it's a little bit stronger. It's gonna be good enough to at least tack these sheets up till I bring some fuel with me tomorrow and finish it off with a siding nailer. So if you're looking at this saying, what are you doing there, Kyle? I'm just using my 15 degree nails to tack this up and hold it in place until I get my siding nailer. I'm gonna slide this sheet up underneath of it, and that's gonna prevent it from coming down on me. Perfect, so that wasn't too bad. I got those two pieces up. I'm gonna do one more because I can. I just don't wanna do too much with this gun because it's not the way I'll be doing it, which means I gotta redo, everything that I'm doing right now. I have to go back over with a gun. This piece right here is gonna have to be cut and gone around that soffit up there, okay? I'm not gonna be able to do that by myself because I don't wanna have to risk breaking a piece as I push it up there and getting it all lined up. It's just not worth it, and I don't need to do it by myself. I've got plenty of other stuff I can do. So what I'm gonna do is get my measurement for the next piece, which goes up into that soffit and then goes around, and what I'll do is I'll just use a scrap piece of siding. I'll space appropriately with my square, space again, and I'll set this piece perfectly spaced off of a scrap. That way I can come back and I can put a piece in here with Greg when he comes back, and it will be a lot easier. And then also that'll allow me to just keep going down this wall. I'll go ahead and go up top, make sure that's spaced properly. This will allow me to keep going this way. And then I've got this space so that a full piece will fit perfectly in there when the time comes. All right, now that I'm here to go over this overhead door trim, I need to flash that. I don't want water coming down and sitting on top of this trim cap. So what I'm gonna do is I bent myself a piece of metal. It goes back to the wall and it has a drip edge on it. Now I did detail this end, and I'll show you what I did down here on the other end. So I'm just gonna butt this end in where it belongs. And right here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and mark right where this edge is. I'm then gonna make a mark 3/8 of an inch. Square that up. Square around my face. Take our green snips. We can snip out that first line. I also need to square this line back here. So I've got two lines. I got my snip line, and then I've got another line here. So I'm gonna cut this off. This really doesn't matter. And we're gonna take our hand seamers here. We're not gonna go tight against this leg. We're gonna stay off it just a little bit, 1/16 or so. and we're going to bend it up. See what it did? It brought some of that material with it to create a dam. That way when I put this up here and water comes down this wall, it's not going to be able to go that way. It's going to hit that and it's going to work its way out. Now you can't really do this with all materials. This aluminum is pretty soft, so it is malleable to a degree. So now this is what I'll fasten, and then I'll tape this top off and we'll be good to go. All right, I wanted to make sure I kept this up high enough so when I put my siding on here, you know, obviously you don't want to see that. And the cutoff that I just made is going to fit right over top of that door. I'm also just double checking to make sure the bottom reveal is consistent. So what I did here was set a scrap piece that wasn't, you know, it's kind of not going to be used for anything because there's not really anywhere on this building that's going to need a piece smaller than one of these up here. So I had this scrap. I went ahead and tacked it up there with a trim gun real quick. And that is so I can set this full piece in the exact location. And then what I'll do is I'll use it to get me an exact dimension down here. Now, I've just learned over the years that I do the best I can to make things as perfect as possible. However, if I just measure that distance up there for my rip coming down, it might not be perfect. I don't want to have to fudge it. This way, if I'm off 1/8 of an inch from top to bottom or 1/4 inch or whatever it is, I can adjust that in my rip on the piece and have an accurate dimension to go off of based off of the piece right here that I'm going to install next. Kind of get it roughly where we think it's going to go. Make sure that I am off of my base trim the appropriate amount. So about there. That right there is plumb. So we are definitely close enough to call it. So I'm going to stick a trim nail right there. Now you may say, oh, this looks like a big pain in the butt. Well, you don't have to do this. You could have just cut this at that dimension and assumed that this cut down here is exact same as that cut up there. But I just like to take out any chance for error and just ensure that it's going to be as good as possible because it makes everything easier down the road as well. Just going to set a nail so it doesn't go anywhere. Now, just for the heck of it, hopefully I don't look too bad here, but my tight measurement is roughly 3 5/16, and up here we're 3 1/8. So yeah, that's 3/16 of an inch difference from here to down there. Now, how does that happen? So what I like to blame that on is my poor craftsmanship. But really, you know, when you're building with wood, you know, especially with a post frame, our dimensions that we're always concerned with are from the bottom dimension being exact, the top dimension being exact, and it being square in relation to those measurements. But through the middle of a post frame, you can get, you know, a thing, the house can bow, and you look at it, you try to get it as straight as possible. And I guess if we're talking about from the very top of this wall over here, which is 17 foot, there could be 3/16 of an inch bow. So when we build all this and we stand it up and we plumb our ends, sometimes there can be a little something in the middle that you just, you know, it is what it is. 3/16, it's probably not a big deal. I wish it was 0. And what you could do, and what I've done in the past, is I would cheat this piece over 3/16 down at the bottom, so it would be out of plumb, but your eye is never going to see 3/16. So I don't need to do that. But if I were to have made the cut at, let's say, 3 inches, and I was 3/16 bigger of a gap down at the bottom without knowing that I was off, then I would have had to have cheated it. So this just allows me to know kind of where I'm at, set the sheet exact, and then I'll fudge this one, and you're never going to see that. It's going to get a bead of caulk here, and we're you know, you guys are the only ones that are going to know this. Greg won't even know this because he doesn't watch the videos. That piece, you know, I probably didn't have to do all of that work to try to make sure it's perfect because it's going to get a caulk bead, it's going to get a batten, but I'm not going to be installing those battens right now today, probably. So I just want to make sure that this is as nice and, you know, perfect as possible. This piece here, by installing that first, it gives me a nice reset point. So coming across the doorway, sometimes things can get a little out. You want it to look good. And then this first full piece here, I plumb back up to make sure it's perfect. So 3/16 or just less than 3/16 bigger down here than up there, and you're never gonna see it. So, you know, I think it's worth the extra little bit of work. Okay, now going into this door, I've already got this piece installed, obviously, and so it's a lot easier to go ahead and get my measurements down here at the bottom and up here at the top, which, once again, it's about 3/16 difference. Now, even though that stinks, it really is not the end of the world, nor does it really affect the outcome, because everything is still gonna look good. And that's the important thing, because if you're building a structure of this size, you can do the best you can. And I think we do try to do the best that we are able to do. But that is why it is so important to do your best, because even by doing your best, you're not gonna get perfect. And but you can be better if you don't try your best, if you don't work at getting things square, plumb, level at the very beginning. By the time you get to the part where we're starting to do finish work, it's really going to be noticeable, and I think a lot of people would notice that. However, since we spent a lot of time at the beginning before we sheathed this to make sure that this building was as accurate to the dimension as possible and square and level and all that stuff, it's going to afford us the ability to make all of these finishes look as good as possible. Now I can get my corner trim up, which is awesome, because the corner trim is going to allow me to start putting my band boards on, which will allow me also to put my battens on, which will really start to give this building its character. Right now it looks real flat. Yeah, it's nice not to look at the Weather Logic, but it's kind of flat. There's no real detail yet. You got to wait until those battens go up. Yeah, no big deal.
Flush.
No big deal. You can be a squidge pass.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I'd rather be a little bit long than. You know, that's where I'm at with. Yeah, so the guillotine is actually a 1/2 inch depth to the cutter off of the front face. So I just spin my tape in. Yeah. And that puts me right at 66/11 1/4.
Yeah, you could be a little bit.
That might make it pretty tight for you on the trim, but
no, because the trim's gonna get cut around it. You'll be fine. One piece
for you, sir. We are using the root clips. On 6 inch, I'm at 18 inches. On 5 inch, I'm at 2 feet.
So what do you mean brute clips? So these are like...
Yep, so standard install on residential. This is your residential, and this is what we upgraded to for the barns.
Bigger's better. And more rigid.
And you should see how awesome my suspended system is. Check this out. Come a long way, my man.
If you ain't getting better, if you're not learning, you're dying.
ABC sells the garbage. Lynch Aluminum out of Peoria sells the good stuff. Check this out. Beveled aluminum instead of that T-strap. Look at that structure.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Can you get these color matched if you wanted to?
I paint them all.
Yeah, just spray paint them? Nice.
On suspension.
Nice, Scotty.
Yeah, buddy.
Good stuff. Just two guys put up a 67-footer. How big can you do, Scotty?
Tim and I, we usually camp out right about 78, 80 feet when you need a third guy.
You probably don't want to go much further with a one piece anyway, do you?
No. Well, ACM says 80 feet. You should cut it off for heat expansion.
Yeah. Huh. Nice. So they're going to put one of those brute clips every 2 foot, you said, or what?
2 foot on center is industry standard, yep.
Nice. All right, we'll let them do that, and then they can get her installed.
Black too, and it shows fingerprints for easy. You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Everything you touch that's black has your fingerprint.
So you'll notice they've got the ladders on top of the roof. That's so they can run this gutter right on the underside. Makes it a lot easier. You want me to flush up your side, Scotty?
Whichever end. His
Yeah.
end's fine.
Yeah.
Once one end's left, they both should be.
Got about 3 inches.
Towards you?
Yeah. Oh, too much. Back a little more, about 1 inch, 1/2 inch, a little more. Oh, if I go out, yeah, right there, man.
Okay.
I like it.
Check Timbo's in, and we should be good.
Looks like a bag of money, dude. Yeah, you're good. So Scotty's been doing gutters for us for the last 5, 6, maybe even 7 years or longer. I honestly don't remember, but Scotty's out of Stillman Valley. Scotty and Tim. Here, I'll give you a quick look at their trailer. So blow them up if you need some gutter work in Northern Illinois. Good dude. Just like that, man. Battens go up pretty darn easy. Touch the nails up with the touch-up kit. This is the only batten I'm not a huge fan of, but it just has to be there. I tried avoiding it as much as possible, and I did make it better than it was gonna be by manipulating the panel spacing just a little bit. It still looks okay, I think. Yo guys, I'm super excited about this. This is looking better than I anticipated. I knew it would look good, but I'm digging the color scheme. I think the whole thing is just gonna look awesome. And hopefully you guys can now see kind of what this is gonna look like. But man, is it only gonna get better when all these windows get installed, when we build these porches. I get the shakes up on the gables. I'm still anxious about that because it's another color that we're gonna introduce. And I don't know how that's all gonna pan out. I mean, I'm not a designer, so I feel like I can build something, but that doesn't mean I can design it. So, you know, I helped the client pick out these colors. I kind of gave them these ideas, and they liked them, so they went with them. They trusted me, and that's always a little scary, but I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out, and I hope you guys like it as well. Let me know down below in the comments, what do you think of this color scheme? We've got Cavern Steel. That's the gray color. We've got Abyss Black, which obviously is our trims. And then we've got Sterling Ledgstone Versetta Stone down here with the charcoal wainscot cap. We've got one more color to bring in, which is Tundra Gray. I think it's gonna look good. Wait, is it Tundra Gray? It's a grayish color though, so it goes in this scheme of colors. And obviously the black metal roof is good too. Now, one thing you'll probably notice, we got the gutters done. So Scotty from AR Gutter Services up in Northern Illinois, he does all my gutter work, came in, made it happen for us. I was tired of that morning drip as the frost on the roof would melt off and drip all over us as we were obviously working on the sides, so that won't happen anymore. I'm really happy the way this is turning out, and I hope you guys stick around for this whole thing. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you can follow along. If you don't want to, that's fine too. It's no big deal. It takes no effort. Costs you nothing, and I greatly appreciate it. But if not, hopefully you still come back to watch more videos, and we'll see you on the next one, all right? I'm gonna get out of here, clean up, and you guys have a good one. Well, that is kind of exciting. We've got the ComEd crew here. These guys are putting a new pole in for us. They're getting new service so that we can trench it into the building and get some power. So they just took down a pole. They're gonna be putting a new pole up. Nice to finally get that going.